Hey everyone, I'm Tyler Metcalf, and I watched the film so you don't have to. On this video, we're taking a look at the freshman shooting guard from Duke, Kon Knueppel. Now, for most of the year, people describe Knueppel as just a shooter, just another classic white guy from Duke who's a lethal off-ball shooter. Now, don't get me wrong, Knueppel is that, but that archetype in this kind of draft gets you middle of the first round type of an evaluation, if not later. You got to be able to do more, as we're seeing throughout the playoffs and the regular season. And that's exactly what Knueppel did. Instead of being that fringe lottery guy a lot of people had him billed as coming into the year, Knueppel is now almost talked about as a top five lock in the 2025 NBA draft. And that's because he's so much more than just a shooter. Don't be deceived by his appearance. Knueppel can hoop. So let's take a look at why Knueppel is now considered one of the top guards in this class and almost a lock to be a top five, top six pick in this draft. Welcome to Film School. Let's dive in. I know. I just said that Knueppel is way more than just a shooter, and we'll get to that. But when it's his thing, when he's the best at it, we got to start with it. This year, per synergy, Knueppel ranked in the 98th percentile in spot-up scoring and shot 48.9% from three in those situations. He also ranked in the 71st percentile running off his screens, 90th percentile on all jumpers, and the 92nd percentile shooting off the catch. The way that Knueppel gets into his shot, it's regardless of the situation in off-ball situations, whether he's in movement, spotting up, running some inverted pick and roll stuff, the mechanics are always pristine. His footwork is perfect, his balance is perfect, high release, quick release, and any sort of defensive lapse that gives him a slight window from the perimeter, that shot's going up and it's probably going in. Knueppel is consistently called the best shooter in this class for a very, very, very clear reason. Being a great shooter rocks. Super important skill. But defenses will cue in on that and then run these awesome shooters off the line. So now guys have to be able to do something. They have to be able to attack closeouts and create out of those situations. And while Kon Knueppel isn't a great on-ball individual creator, he's really good in off-ball situations and attacking closeouts. Now, shooting off the bounce, Knueppel ranks in just the 33rd percentile, just the 31st percentile in pick and roll scoring, and just the 27th percentile in isolation. But he also ranks in the 70th percentile in at-rim scoring, and on drives, he scored 1.131 points per possession this year. To put that in comparison, Dylan Harper was at 0.923 on significantly more volume, is like 40 or so more drives than Knueppel this year. But VJ Edgecombe, who had fewer drives, was at just 0.825. And what that tells us is the quality of looks that Knueppel is getting at the rim that aren't manufactured from his own individual creation, but how he leverages that threat of shooting and that outside shot to then create really efficient looks at the rim. As we can see here, wide open on the opposite corner, draws that long closeout, and now he's going baseline immediately. Kaman Malowacz does a really good job here of getting that pseudo screen with the simulated post up here to give him a better runway. And Knueppel isn't an overly explosive athlete. When he has a clear runway, he can get up and put down a big dunk from time to time, but his real athletic tools come with his footwork, his balance, and his strength, because once he gets you on his hip, it is incredibly difficult to recover back rimside. And what that opens up is situations right here where defender can't get back rimside, so Knueppel's able to use his strength, bump off the defender, get back rimside, and use his body to shield it. Easy layup, all because of that threat of the outside shot that forced the defender to close out hard, and immediate quick decision, rip through, baseline drive, low bump, finish through the contact. What that strength also allows him to do is put defenders in jail and keep them on his back, on his hip, which then draws the help rotation from the weak side. Knueppel does a really good job of staying composed and utilizing that footwork and that patience that as he goes up here, he could probably throw a lob here, but he knows weak side rotation's coming. Malowacz does better with the ball, with passes up around the rim rather than at his hips or knees, like every 7-footer does. So instead, Knueppel, instead of risking a turnover here, simply jump stops, pivots through, great step through, avoids the rotation, finishes at the rim. Really similar thing. Attacks the closeout, shot fake. So the threat of the shot draws the long closeout. The shot fake gets Carter Bryant up out of his stance, high hand. And now that Carter Bryant, who is an elite defender in this class, now that he's out of his stance, Kon can attack downhill. If without the shot fake, without the long closeout, Kon really probably wouldn't be able to create much of anything against Bryant in a one-on-one situation. Instead, really patient drive as the defense scrambles. Knueppel does a really good job of starting his dribble, keeping it alive, little hesitation, splits the gap. He allows the defensive miscommunication to take care of itself, attacks the lane, extension finish to avoid the recovery block. Easy bucket, all because of that threat of his outside shot. Here, DHO, defender has to go over. We saw in that first series of shooting clips, when they go under, he's just going to stop on a dime, let it fly, probably score. So here, defender's chasing him over, which means Knueppel has all this space to attack down into. Now, we talked about the strength earlier. Aiden Holloway doesn't have a chance at recovering back rim side. Since he can't recover, that means that the drop defender here has to stay engaged just that split second longer, and Knueppel knows that. So playing with an elite rim running big this year in Kon Malawach feasted in these situations because Knueppel does a really good job of keeping both defenders, whether it's out of the pick and roll or DHO, engaged the entire time. And then he throws a softball up exactly where Malawach doesn't really need to do much of anything other than redirect it. Throws a soft pass. Easy dunk for him. Now we see him in an off-ball situation, running off screens. Really similar situation. Instead of initiating a DHO coming to the middle of the floor, now Knueppel's running off of a screen here. He's going to curl off middle. He knows his defender's chasing over, and now they're basically in an empty corner pick and roll situation. So as Knueppel receives the pass, he immediately sees middle of the floor, wide open, and he knows Malawach is going to be rim running real hard here out of the empty corner, and that Malawach doesn't have any help defense to worry about rotating from the weak side. Knueppel does a great job using that strength, getting low, continuing to pursue. Drop defender gets caught in no man's land because Knueppel keeps his primary defender on his hip. Throws a great pass where only Malawach can get it right over the fingertips of Visar. And again, really easy dunk for Malawach. Off screen, curls middle, very similar situation. Shrugs off the defender, catches the drop defender in no man's land. From here, he's peeking over. He's looking at Will Riley, seeing, all right, is he rotating over? Is he staying with his man on the weak side, who is being put in motion and lifting out? Knueppel sees that Riley goes with the shooter, throws it up, easy dunk. It's not rocket science, but it is one of the most effective sets, and it all stems from the threat of Knueppel's outside shooting. Long closeout, lazy defense, and this is where some of the passing upside with Knueppel gets fun, because a lot of the vast majority of his playmaking came with that two-man game, getting downhill, throwing lobs to Malawach, but as we'll see in a little bit too, he has really good floor vision, and he can find shooters, he can find cutters like he does here, uses his strength to shrug off Ian Jackson, forces the help rotation. His eyes are looking at RJ Davis here. He knows that, all right, if Davis breaks here, he's got his teammate cutting to the middle, or cutting to the rim. If Davis stays with the cutter, he knows that he has Cooper Flagg in the opposite corner. He sees Davis break towards the corner shooter. Perfect cut, Sion James, easy dunk. All of that kind of stuff stems from the threat of Kon Knueppel's off-ball shooting. If he wasn't a lethal shooter, defenders could close out short on him, put a hand up, but he's a dynamic shooter who can shoot off movement. So when he's running off screens, defenders have to go over, and then Kon Knueppel can leverage that strength, the footwork, the patience, the passing capabilities to then create in the middle of the floor and use his strength to also finish at the rim. So Kon Knueppel is an off-ball shooting guard, lethal shooter, lethal outlet option, but also he's almost an impossible cover by defenders, because once they do close out hard and he does get run off the line, now he's in a situation where he can create either for himself at the rim or for his teammates in any area of the floor. All right, we just ran through a whole bunch of numbers, and just for reference, Kon's on-ball scoring numbers weren't all that great. Specifically, 31st percentile in scoring out of the pick and roll, 27th percentile in isolation. We've seen better. But when we look at the pick and roll, at his pick and roll possessions and factor in his passes, that percentile ranking jumps to the 81st percentile. So Kon isn't going to be one of these guys who you can just throw the ball and tell him, go get your shot, go create something, go run the offense. He's not that guy. He is a shooting guard. But what he can do is in second side situations, in broken plays, in transition, he can run a really good empty corner pick and roll. He can get downhill against smaller defenders. If the opposing team tries to hide their worst defender on him, who also maybe happens to be smaller, Kon has the capabilities to get downhill and to bully him and use that strength to get to the paint and either knock down a pull-up jumper or throw lobs or kick out to open shooters. Kon isn't an on-ball guy. He can't really create his own shot without a screen, but that's okay, because what he is an incredibly smart player with really good footwork, really good balance, really good strength, and he rarely gets sped up. So as we can see here off the offensive rebound, Malovac does a good job just being the biggest person on planet Earth here, gets the offensive rebound, kicks it out to Kon, shot fake, draws the long closeout. Cool. New shot clock. Let's reset. Malovac sets a screen, empty corner pick and roll, and he slips it. Kon does a really good job here of keeping that dribble alive and just probing the defense, keeping both primary pick and roll defenders engaged as Malovac rolls to the rim. Now, Malovac's vertical spacing demands that the weak side rotation rotates early and aggressive, which Seth Trimble does. Knueppel sees that immediately. He knows that the rotation is coming from the weak side, so all he's worried about is Elliot Cadeau here at the corner or at the elbow, because he knows Cooper Flagg's going to be rotating down and that Tyrese Proctor is going to be on the wing. As he elevates, he identifies that Cadeau's staying at the elbow, makes a perfect kick-out pass right into the shooting pocket for Flagg. Wide open corner three. Now we see him being put off screen and going right into that empty corner pick and roll with Malovac rolling towards the middle yet again. Great screen by Malovac. He rolls hard, and Knueppel now knows that Ian Jackson's going to be on his hip or on his back, so he's just toying with the drop big here, a little in and out, keeps the defender engaged, and gives Malovac that extra half step, to roll and get to the rim. As he does that, Knueppel, so he comes off the screen, a little in and out, keeps him engaged, and that half second extra that he keeps the drop defender engaged gives Malovac more space and time to get to the rim, but also ensures that the drop big has zero chance of recovering, and Seth Trimble late on the rotation, perfect lob. Defense is caught in no man's land. Here we see him in a little more of a primary role, high pick and roll. That's just an incredible pass. Like there's not a whole lot that the defense does wrong here. Drop defenders engaged, good screen. Kon's defender goes over the screen. Kon attacks his space. Drop defender probably needs to step up a little bit more, but with a rim running big like that, they're playing drop coverage. So, he's at the level here. He's engaged. He doesn't overcommit one way or the other. He's retreating back, but Knueppel just throws a perfect pass, catches the drop defender backpedaling, and he puts it in a spot where only Malovac can get to it. It's a heck of a pass. Running off screens into pick and roll. Imbalances the defense, puts them in rotation, and now we're attacking downhill. Again, another great screen by Malawach. A little in and out dribble, keeps that drop defender engaged, and makes this weak side defender second guess himself. Because he knows that he has Tyrese Proctor out there, but Malawach is rolling to the rim. A little in and out, keeps it forces the switch here by the defense. By now, Malawach is in the paint at the rim, about as easy of a bucket as you could get, and it's all generated by Knueppel's ability to effectively use that screen and then get downhill. When Knueppel's playing with an elite rim running big, life gets a lot easier. Empty corner pick and roll again, similar thing, great lob in traffic, doesn't matter. Now in transition, LeBaron Philon's really good defender, doesn't matter. Knueppel's bigger, he's stronger, and he's got really good scoring touch, really good footwork. Love the drive here, gets downhill, little bump, great body control, shrugs him off, pivots back against his momentum. It's not a giant window, but it's just enough. It's all he needs to hold Philon off and create the little floater plus the foul. Again, smaller defender, shrugs him off. He sees Sears step up. He tries to cheat the pick and roll that's coming. Knueppel sees that Sears is trying to get over the screen quickly, so instead he denies it, rips through, drives baseline. Sears is quicker, so he does catch up, but he's a lot smaller too. Knueppel just shrugs him off. Easy bucket. Pushing early in transition, really similar thing here. Gets downhill. Unorthodox timing here on the drive. He catches the defender mid-step here, and the common theme throughout all of these are the differences in how Knueppel's getting to these mid-range shots. We saw him get downhill, stop on a dime, pivot back one way. We saw him get downhill, shrug off the defender. Now we're seeing him get downhill and using that unpredictability and timing to elevate before the defender can react. Once he drives middle here, the defender's in chase mode, does a relatively decent job, but those long strides, the inability to stay fully rim side of Knueppel allows Knueppel to rise up exactly where he wants to, keeps the defender on their heels. Really clean look. Easy bucket. Empty corner pick and roll yet again. And now we're seeing some of that playmaking vision. It's not just a lob. As Knueppel comes off the screen, he sees the help defenders already in the paint waiting for him. Because as this play starts, Sion James is going to rotate out to the opposite corner. Syracuse knows that they're trying to run this empty corner pick and roll with Malawach rolling down the middle, so they're just putting the help defender in the paint to meet him right away. The problem is the other help side defenders aren't on the same page. They leave Sion James wide open as a potential non-shooter. Kon does a really good job of identifying that quickly. Great pass, right on target, wide open. Doesn't fall, so maybe Syracuse, they had the proper scouting report there, but those types of defensive lapses or potential defensive miscommunications, Kon's able to have the vision and the passing accuracy to exploit them. Again, empty corner pick and roll, really common theme here with Kon in his, quote unquote second side on ball creation situations. Empty corner pick and rolls are his friend. So as he comes off the screen, really good screen by Malawach, but he gets hung up a little bit. So Kon goes into attack mode and he takes on the drop defender right away, attacks baseline, gets pushed out there, and his eyes are looking at Sion James rotating down. He sees help defender 1, help defender 2, and he knows that Mason Gillis is going to be wide open on the wing here. Perfect kick out, late contest by RJ Davis. Shot doesn't fall, but the read and the processing by Kon there are perfect. So when we think about Kon in an NBA context, those long closeouts are going to happen because teams aren't going to let him get clean looks at spot-up jumpers. And when they come, he's able to get downhill, create out of his drives, create and really manipulate rotating defenses. He sees the floor well. He's rarely rushed. And when the ball swings to him and they run a DHO or they have him curling middle of the floor off his screens to get downhill and create or read and react to how the defense is covering him, he's able to be put in those situations that are technically off ball, but then quickly mold into on-ball situations to create really efficient looks for both himself and his teammates. Now, we know that the offense with Knueppel is the main selling point, and all year we've heard about how bad of a defender he is, how he can't hold up on his own, how he's going to get exposed at the next level, he's going to get played off the court, and frankly, I just don't see it. Is he going to be an all-NBA level defender? Probably not. But I don't think he's going to be a massive weak link that really exposes his team's defense, because his footwork is fantastic. That same level of composure, footwork, balance, and strength that we see him implement constantly on offense also shows up on the defensive end. Now, he's also not much of a defensive playmaker, but what he does is hold his own. He stays in position. He rarely gets completely embarrassed on defense, and these concerns about him being this horrible defender feel lazy, and they just feel like the critiques that typically go with off-ball shooters. And we've already established Knueppel's way more than just that on offense, but he's also way more than that on defense. As we can see here, this is Robert Wright, who's another freshman, but he's also incredibly quick and incredibly shifty, and one of the more fun transfers for next year's season. Knueppel does a really good job here of just implementing his footwork, sliding his feet, staying rim side, and then utilizing that strength. So he walls up the initial drive, decent gap help to deter the drive there, and then closes out under control, really good defensive stance, slides his feet, pivots back, and is just in Robert Wright's shorts here. I mean, he's so attached, and it's all because of that footwork, that foundation, that ability to sit down in a defensive stance. Doesn't get a block, but that's about as close to a block as you can get without actually blocking the shot. Really terrific defense there. Again, Mark Sears, one of the quickest, most explosive downhill threats in the SEC this year. Smaller, sure, but really quick, really seasoned, really experienced. And Knueppel does the exact same thing. Great job moving his feet. He doesn't turn his hips and panic to chase. Instead, walls up the drive, plants that right foot, and explodes back, slides his feet perfectly. Really good defensive stance, great footwork, stays on balance, and is able to shadow Sears the entire way and throw in a really heavy contest on a tough floater. Ian Jackson, much better athlete than Kon Knueppel in terms of explosiveness and first step and straight line speed. Doesn't matter, because Knueppel's defense here is perfect. The footwork, he initially shades him one way, slides his feet. Jackson does a really good job crossing over, and really good reaction timing and hip flexibility here by Knueppel as he plants that right foot, just opens up, doesn't panic, and then just slides. Look at the defensive stance that he's in the entire time. Really good footwork. Low defensive stance allows him to react quickly, plants that left foot, and allows him to explode back and get a decent contest. Knueppel doesn't have a great wingspan. I think he was like +1, +2, somewhere in that range. So, these types of shots, he's not going to get a ton of blocks. He's not going to get a ton of steals. But by playing this physical and making shots this difficult, he's able to more than hold his own. Again, we just can see the foundation, the footwork, the low defensive stance, the physicality, playing with his chest. He just makes it really difficult for ball handlers to get to where they want to go. Elliot Cadeau, much quicker, stays attached, forces the tough shot. Not sure who got the block there. Doesn't matter, because shot didn't even get close to going to the rim, all because of that physicality, strength, and fundamentals that Kon Knueppel plays with on defense. So where does that leave us with Kon Knueppel? The top 5 smokescreen isn't much of a smokescreen. It's very legit, and for a good reason. For starters, he's the best shooter in this class by a pretty wide margin, especially when we look at guys in the first round. He is lethal off the catch, really good in movement. It doesn't really matter the situation. The shot's going up, quick release, consistent mechanics, and lethal results. You can use him in a myriad of ways. off the ball, whether as an outlet, putting him in motion, DHO, and then he also has a ton of second side creation upside. He's a really smart passer, throws a terrific lob, and once he gets you on his hip, you're not recovering rim side. He has the strength, the footwork, the balance, and the composure to be really deadly when he gets run off the line by defenders on long closeouts. The offense is so much more than being just a shooter. Yes, he's a shooting guard. He's not a primary creator, but he is more than just a shooter. And on defense, is he going to be elite? Probably not. But does his foundation and consistency and footwork and balance and defensive stance and strength make him really good? Let's just say average at the NBA. Even if he's just an average defender, I think he'll be better. But even if he's just an average defender with that offensive skill set, we're talking about an awesome two guard for a decade plus, because that offensive skill set is going to keep him around in the league, and the defense gives him a really high baseline that a lot of quote unquote just shooters don't have. He moves his feet well. He plays with so much more strength and through his chest than a lot of other guys his age do. It's great to project physical development because all of these guys eventually do, but the strength and footwork and balance that Kon plays with every single game is significantly better than most of his peers. So, yeah, the top 5 talk is real with Kon, and for a very good reason.